Hey everybody, it's September 1st, 2022. Thank you for joining me. Economic Collapse News Roundup. A word that's being used is tragedy, and I'm going to tell you who said that and why they're saying that about the economy. But first, I hope everyone is doing well. So we continue to document this descent into financial chaos. Some people are calling this financial Armageddon. Great Depression 2.0, the levels of debt. We've never seen this before. The quickness of people getting further into debt, deeper in debt. We've never seen this before. These home prices this high and this disconnected from incomes. We've never seen this before. This amount of leverage in the system with borrowing and lending and inflation of these bubbles from the central banks. We've never seen this before. And I think we've also never seen the type of disconnect now between people that think everything's okay, that the engineers have everything under control, everything's going to be fine, versus the people that see and realize that things are not going to be fine. And I should say for most people, some people will actually make out very well during this time. In fact, there's people that are going to become much wealthier during this time that we're going to see with this combination of inflation and deflation in some areas, and we've documented that over the years here pretty well, I think. And we see right now what we see in the near future forecast. I don't do forever forecast, but in the near future, we see further weakness in the housing market. I still think the stock market has topped, even though we saw a kind of a recovery, but still we're down from the highs that we saw at the end of 2021. But some areas where prices are not coming down, and that's most areas, the cost of living, utilities, power bills. Look what's happening over in the UK. We have people, businesses going out of business because of the rising power costs over there. And I think the USA is shortly going to follow what we're seeing over in the UK, so brace for this. But British household energy bills jump 80% to over $4,000 a year. Right, so you want to talk about inflation, the rising cost of living, things like this. This is out of control, an 80% jump. Who can afford that? People are already on the edge financially. Now add this on top of everything else. And that's why we've warned here, even if prices do come down, let's say in the housing market, will there be any buyers? Will anyone even have a down payment with the cost of living going up so much or so elevated from just a year or two ago that people are getting tapped out financially? Now, Britain's leading consumer rights champion Martin Lewis said, warning that people will die if they refuse to cook food or heat their homes this winter. And he's talking about the cost of living becoming so outrageous, these utility bills so outrageous, people are just going to say no, or just they won't be able to do it. They don't have the money. Now, speaking of utilities and the cost of energy, California, of course, we announced here that we're going to be banning the sales of new gas cars by 2035 here in California. But take a look at this. California residents are being asked not to charge their electric vehicles because of the strain on the power grid. So we won't be able to sell new cars in California that are gas powered, but at the same time we have the electrical grid basically failing, and people are being warned of rolling blackouts and being told not to run their washing machine and not to charge their cars during certain hours of the day. Can we see the nightmare that's unfolding here, folks? It's pretty easy to see, but we've been warning about this for years. I don't think anyone's surprised, even though this is very even hard to believe how we see these contradictions, with the banning of the gas vehicles and now electric vehicles, people told not to charge them. So where does the insanity end? It's just too crazy right now. Next, tragedy. Prepare for an epic finale. Investor Jeremy Grantham warns tragedy looms as super bubble may burst. Grantham continues, a super bubble appears dangerously near its, quote, final act after the recent rally in U.S. stocks lured some investors back into the market just ahead of potential tragedy. And we had warned you here that the rally that we saw in the stock market from June up until about mid-August was a bear market trap, or a bear trap. also known as a sucker's rally. And sure enough, we did see some pretty big red days since that middle of August time period. And that rally that we saw for a month and a half, 2 months, does definitely now appear to be a minor uptick in a downward trend in the stock market. Now, Grantham described the situation with the stock market as the following, quote, "One of those features is the bear market rally after the initial derating stage of the decline, but before the economy has clearly begun to deteriorate, as it always has when super bubbles burst. This, in all three previous cases, recovered over half of the market's initial losses, luring unwary investors back just in time for the market to turn down again, only more viciously, and the economy to weaken. This summer's rally has so far perfectly fit the pattern." And Grantham continues, quote, "Prepare for an epic finale. If history repeats, the play will once again be a tragedy. We must hope this time for a minor one." So, folks, the way I look at it is we've got a dangerous combination right now of rising costs, job losses, and deflation with declines in the markets, including the stock market and the housing market. So it's a really tough time, in my opinion, to navigate right now. You do want to hold some cash and be ready if those buying opportunities do show up. And no, I don't think the stock market is a buying opportunity right now. I think we're on the way to probably the biggest decline that we've ever seen. At some point, we're going to hit that. And we see the controllers out there, they're saying they're going to continue to raise interest rates. They're going to continue to unwind their balance sheet. And with the super bubble being inflated by the central bank insane money printing spree, we know that when the opposite happens, when the balance sheet gets sold off, when the rates rise, then we know that the ball game is approaching the end. The question is, how many more innings will we have to go to get to the grand finale and to get to what Jeremy Grantham calls tragedy? And I think once the bankruptcy storms do hit these U.S. households where most people now are living paycheck to paycheck, I think we're going to see a tsunami of bankruptcies here. I think that's when they'll again cut rates and they'll have more rescue programs, more forgiveness programs for debt, more debt write-offs or debt elimination, and the cycle will begin all over again to the next super bubble. But please let me know what you think down in comments. What will this bubble bursting look like? What will this grand finale look like, or this tragedy look like, as Jeremy Grantham is calling it? And also, what do you think about California banning the sale of gas cars by 2035, and also warning people not to use too much electricity, not to charge their vehicles during certain hours? Pretty interesting. But actually, other states are following California. And we know that what happens in the U.S. typically starts in California. What a terrible state to follow the laws here and the rules. But several states will follow California's lead in banning gas-powered cars, the sale of new cars, gas-powered cars, by 2035. And so far, we have a total of 15 states that have backed California's zero-emissions vehicle requirements, while Washington, Oregon, Massachusetts, and New York have taken steps to follow suit. So it's close to 20 states that it looks like this may be also announced in very, very soon. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for watching this report. Like to hear from you down in comments on this one. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now. Keep stacking. Be well. Peace.